Hey guys, this is our Division Three non-select quarterfinal preview here on Ballin in the Boot. I'm your host, Jace Lejeune. We're joined by Alex Allison, Daryl Felker from Gridiron Football, and we're also joined by Grant Sachere as well from Crescent City Sports, River Sports Media. Grant does an awesome job covering high school football, so you follow his work at CrescentCitySports.com. And I've always been a big fan of Grant and Ken Trahan, Jude Young, and the whole crew at Crescent City Sports, and so follow their work. Guys, let's go and talk about Division Three non-select, and you got some teams, a lot of upper tier teams in terms of success in the last couple of years in state championships and dome runs. All these teams are still in the playoffs. Not, I mean, unsurprisingly, right? But we won't go and talk about these quarterfinal matchups, and we'll recap a little bit of the second round of the playoffs. St. James was able to try to see if there was any rust at all coming from the bye. The answer was no. There was no rust at all. Collinsonville 48-6. So these are your defending state runner-ups. Remember that was a very close throwing finish. Union Parish had to go for two, went for two for the win, and they got it. So St. James able to move on. They'll take on Pine, which me and Graham talked about was a little bit of a surprise with Pine struggling against teams that really good teams this year. But Pine was able to get a big victory. So major kudos to Coach Seal and the Raiders for getting that job done against a really good Kaplan football team. DJ Garrett, who's actually one of our Gridiron Football Player of the Week nominees, 7 catches, 182 yards, and 2 touchdowns on offense, 3 interceptions on defense. So DJ Garrett probably won the game by himself. I'll have to say that. But now DJ Garrett probably needs a 5 interception game, 5 touchdown game because they want to take St. James next round. So we'll see how that playoff matchup goes. Union Parish, man, we could see a rematch of last year's state championship game in the semis, but before Union Parish can do that, they're going to have to take on Kinder. And Kinder actually overcame some mistakes. They fumbled the ball 3 times, but still won the game 28-12. You're going to take on Union Parish, who was able to get it done, defeat Red River 42-8. Talk about a Union Parish type of game, 314 yards on the ground. On offense and 2 interceptions from its defense. So Union Parish will take on Kinder. The game will be played at Kinder, so that's a big factor in that football game as well. We go to the bomb side of the bracket, probably the most anticipated matchup in the quarterfinals. Number 3 Oak Grove will take on number 6 Burlington. 10 state championships between both these two teams. Oak Grove trying to go for 5 and 6 years. But before they had to do that, they played Sterlington, of course. But they just coming off a 62-14 win over Mansfield. And you look at Sterlington, were able to defeat Lakeside 49-18. So two of Northeast Louisiana's winningest programs going against each other in the quarterfinals or right to play in the semis. And then we talk about another upset. We talked about Cecilia earlier. How about Loreauville getting an upset over number 2 seed ERAF? This was actually a rematch from earlier this year. ERAF barely won 14-7. Loreauville got their revenge though, 28-7 to get the win over ERAF. And Gina, they'll take on Gina this time. Let's see Loreauville can continue their Cinderella run. Gina was able to beat Port Allen 56-20. Cedric Wilson had 184 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Daniel Hatcher had 132 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. So Loreauville's been a hot team. They started the season 0-4, but won 6 of their last 7 games. So that should be an interesting playoff matchup. So your quarterfinal matchups one more time. Gina will take on Loreauville. Game will be played at Gina. Remember, all higher seed teams will host a playoff game no matter the circumstances. Number 3 Oak Grove will play number 6 Sterlington. Game will be played at Oak Grove. Kinder will take on Union Parish. Game will be played at Kinder. And then finally, St. James will take on Pine. The game will be played at Pine. Grant, I know you're very high.
At St. James.
Oh, yeah, St. James. Right. Yes.
Come on, Chase. Get your head.
Third show, I'm sleeping already. So that's why I have y'all three with me taking care of this. But yeah, guys, let's talk about the first matchup: St. James and Pine. Grant, I know you're very high on St. James on this Wildcats football team, led by Coach Davis. Pine was able to give them a confidence booster. We talked about them struggling against some of those teams that are really good teams in their area, but they were able to get a 21-6 win over a team in Kaplan that's had some deep playoff runs before. But St. James, they're motivated to get back to the Dome after everything that happened last year and losing just a heartbreaker to Union Parish. So how do you see that?
St. James is going to win. Alex, how do you feel about this game?
They go right into it, Alex.
Okay, jeez. DJ Garrett had honestly one of my favorite performances in the history of our Player of the Week show. We'll talk about that more on Friday during the Player of the Week show.
Yeah.
He had two separate Player of the Week performances in Pines win over Kaplan. He will probably have to do that again in order for them to beat St. James. So I will take St. James to go ahead and win the game.
Yeah, in terms of skill talent, St. James probably has they do have the best skill talent in terms of this bracket. So I'm gonna roll with the Wildcats. I'm gonna roll with Coach Davis. I know they're kind of young this year, but only 2 losses on the season. So they've been really good all season long. I think they're motivated to get back to the Dome. They've always had talent, and I'm gonna go with St. James. Take care.
I also agree with the sentiment that this isn't really the game to talk about in this bracket, so we should probably move on. But yeah,
all right, Dale's last minute thoughts here.
I'm just gonna keep it short and simple like they did. I'm gonna roll with St. James as well. But I mean, Pine had a big performance last week. They held Kaplan to 6 points after they put up 50 the previous week. So
big shout out
to the defense, but I don't think they're gonna be able to do the same thing against St. James.
All right, so we have the number 1 seed, St. James Wildcats, advancing. We have Kinder and Union Parish here. Remember, we could have a rematch of last year's state championship game between St. James and Union Parish, which was the most thrilling game in the Dome we got last year. And but before they had to go through Kinder. Kinder struggled a little bit, but they were able to defeat Westlake 28-12. But Union Parish, man, they are tough, and they played a tough schedule earlier this year to show that, hey, they're not going to be intimidated by anybody. Coach Spatafor is as tough as they come. I don't want to mess with Coach Spatafor for sure. That's definitely a guy I do not want to mess with. But Coach Spatafor has always a tough playoff, gritty football teams and have a chance to move on to the semifinals. Grant, do you think we get that rematch from the Dome last year?
Yeah, I do. I like Union Parish. Union Parish is, of course, as we mentioned, I mean, they went to 4 straight state championships last year. They were finally able to win it. I believe this is, of course, this will be their 5th straight appearance to the quarterfinals. They've been here. They've done it. They're going to do it again. I think they were going to have a very exciting semifinal match between Union Parish and St. James. And last year, of course, it came down to the final 30 seconds of the game. It might come down to that as well. But in this matchup right now, between Union Parish and Kinder, I got Union Parish moving on to the semifinals.
I agree with you, Grant. They're tough. They're physical. This is why they've been so good at making deep playoff runs, going to 4 straight state championships, possibly 5, because they know what it takes to play football. And in November, in December, what you have to do is you have to run the football, play great defense, control the line of scrimmage, and that's what Union Parish does best. They spend a lot of time in strength and conditioning in the weight room. They stress that. They probably stress that more than any other high school team out there, and it's paid dividends for the runs that they've had the last couple of years. So they're going to be able to flex their muscles here, and that's just set up a great matchup in the semifinals between St. James and Union Parish. 2 conflicting styles as well. That should be a great contrasting styles. But Alex, do you have a chance for Kinder to spoil this reunion here?
It's very interesting. It's a weird feeling game because Union Parish is the team everyone is talking about as the favorite to win the game, and they've made the state championship a bunch of years in a row, and all those sorts of things. We're going to get the rematch of these 2 teams. I think when you have an amazing finish to a state championship game like that, you get this destined to do this forever kind of feel with the 2 teams, with Union Parish and St. James. But Kinder's the one at home. Like Kinder's the higher seed, and Union Parish doesn't feel like one of these teams that's like the super low seed that has to go on the road a bunch of times or whatever. But they do happen. 5 versus 4 happens to be at Kinder. How much does that matter? Will that play into the result of the game? If Kinder wins, I think it will. If Kinder wins the game, it's going to be because of the environment and because of just circumstances around the game. They'll need to play into home field advantage. I don't think it'll happen. I think Union Parish will win, and I think we'll get the semifinal rematch that everyone really, really wants to have happen, almost like they're willing it into existence. But I do think it will happen.
What about you, Daryl? You think it'll happen as well?
Alex took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, I think the only thing that may make this interesting for Kinder is the fact that it's at home, but it's tough to go against the reigning state champion. So I'm gonna roll with Union Parish.
All right, we'll see if we get that state championship rematch from a year ago on the top side of the bracket, on the bottom side of the bracket. Very intriguing playoff match, and the most intriguing, in my opinion, in this quarterfinal quartet we have here. Oak Grove taking on Sterlington. 10 state championships between the two from Sterlington, 8 from Oak Grove, and a lot of them most recently. I mean, Sterlington's won their most recent state championships in 2021 and 2016, and Oak Grove has won 4 of the last 5 state championships. They returned that quarterback that won a lot of their state championships in that run. Jackson Bradley, Louisiana Tech commit. And they had a really good backfield as well. JT Lane as well, throwing the football to the tight end position. Sterlington is a really tough physical football team. It's going to be a tough game. A lot of bruises at the end of this one, Grant. Do you have Oak Grove advancing? The biggest headline was them moving up from Division 4 to Division 3. We get to finally see how they can handle that jump from Division 4 to Division 3 with Sterlington. How do you think they'll fare?
Okay, for starters, in the next matchup, Gina and Lorville, I'm picking Gina, so you guys can skip me for the next question because
All right, there we go.
yeah. But for this one, Oak Grove and Sterlington, I think this was we were all kind of waiting on this matchup in this bracket just because these are two teams that have dominated Louisiana football in not only in their area but the whole state. Sterlington has had a lot of success in recent times. I believe they've won a few state championships. Oak Grove,
Yeah,
won like 4 of the last 6 years or something crazy like that. So this is a very interesting matchup for those reasons. I mean, very high successful programs, and I'm just want to double check just make sure how many championships. So Sterling just won 2.
they won. Yeah,
2016 and 2021.
Yep.
And then Oak Grove has won
I think
4 of the last 6 years.
4 in the last 6 years, but 8.
Yes.
Yep.
So I mean these are programs that I think a lot of people are high on. And of course, Oak Grove. Everyone wants to talk about Oak Grove and Jackson Bradley and James Layden and his name is escaping my mind. The running back. Yeah. Somebody help me. But anyway. But yeah. But Sterling is also a very good team, and like I said, they've gone final class 4 last year. They're in the semifinals. So, but I'm gonna have to pick Oak Grove in this one. I think it'll be a very close game. But I'm gonna pick Oak Grove in this one. What's the name?
Jay Freeman.
Thank you. Jay Freeman's a hell of a back as well. But I'm gonna but Oak Grove to win in this one in a very close game.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a close game as well. But I think that veteran leadership, right? I mean, Jay Freeman's a veteran back, like you mentioned. Jackson Bradley, you can say probably the best player in this bracket overall, leading the way. Ryan Gregory's been the coach during this run too. I mean, I know Coach Donnie did a great job, and he's been a part of state championship. I know. I think there was another coach as well. I think it was Coach Thompson in the first one, but still, this is a really good program. He's led to a couple state championship appearances as well, deep playoff runs. So they're not inexperienced either. But I'm going to lean with Oak Grove. They're trying to come away with something special. I don't think they're going to be phased with the bright lights because they've won their state championships during that run. And I think they're the best player on the field in this bracket. So I'm going to go with Oak Grove. They're my state champion picks, so I got to lean with them as well. So I got Oak Grove advancing to semifinals. But Sterlington's going to get them a push. That's going to be a great football game because Sterlington's also a great football program as well. Alex, do you have getting the edge on this one?
So an interesting point we brought up with the Union Parish Kinder game is that that game had the defending state champion in it, in Union Parish. This is actually the only bracket, I believe, that has two defending state champions,
Yep.
right? In Union Parish and Oak Grove. May we see two defending state champions face each other in the finals?
Yep.
It is certainly possible. I will predict the game result here that allows that to still happen. I will call Oak Grove to win and defeat Sterlington. You guys are better experts about these teams than I am. I will be pretty upfront about that. So I don't have a lot of expertise to give here. I'm just going to go ahead and go chalk here and take Oak Grove to win the game.
All right. What about you, Daryl?
Yeah, I mean, I had Oak Grove going to at least the dome. I'm pretty sure I had them winning it as well. But I mean, we talk about being able to win consistently year after year, and that's what they've been able to do. Of course, they haven't, won them all, but 4 out of 6 is as good as anyone can ask for, basically. So, I mean, Sterlington, they're looking like a really good team as well. But yeah, I'm going to roll with Oak Grove. Jackson Bradley, arguably one of the, if not the best quarterback in the state. So yeah, I'm going to roll with him.
All right. I know Grant hurry up and got the David pick. For this one, beat us to the punch. But Gina able to take on Laurelville. Laurelville was able to get the upset on ERAF. Gina was actually a semifinal team last year in the number 1 overall seed in last year's bracket. A little bit more under the radar than they were last year because of the seeding, but still a very dangerous football team. Grant, I know you picked Gina. Give me, I guess, a quick couple words while you have Gina winning.
Gina is they're they won the quarterfinals. They've been far in the playoffs last year. They're motivated to go far this year. I think there's a very favorable matchup because I think Laurelville is a little bit better than what they're seeded. Of course, they got some talented players on their team as well. But and they were able to be ERAF. But I'm not really as high on ERAF, and I really don't think a lot of teams were, a lot of people were high on either because ERAF had to win a lot of very close games. And eventually was going to catch up with them. But I'm going to pick Gina just because I think they're just a better team. I think they're the better team. They've been in this situation before. They're at home. I think that plays a factor in it. And Jay Rourke's done an awesome job with that program. Been in a long time. And yeah, I got Gina moving on.
Yeah, I don't think this game, the Warville win, I don't think it changes my opinion. I think Gina's better than both teams. So this doesn't really change my opinion. I have Gina winning this football game. Yeah, some experienced running back, like some of these other teams, like we talked about Oak Grove, Union Parish. They're tough. They're physical. I can tell you this. I mean, like if you're going to win a state championship, you're going to have a lot of bumps and bruises because these are all tough, physical football teams that are going to play. This is the type of bracket it is. So I'm gonna leave with Gina. Like you said, Grant, they're motivated from last year. They were the number 1 seed in this bracket last year. They were undefeated, and they went all the way to the semis, and that's where they fell. But they have a chance to do that again. I mean, I think it sets up them pretty good to make the semis. I think it sets up really good for them, probably compared to the other team to make at least the semis. So I'm gonna go with Gina here. But what about y'all? What about you, Alex?
So I think there are a couple of things at play that are interesting. I think Gina will win the game. I think it'll be a little bit closer than the assumption that we're making so far. I think Laurelville will put up a little bit more of a fight. I think they'll make it interesting, but I do think Gina will ultimately win. I think that for a couple of reasons. First off, ERAS is one of those teams that you said won a bunch of close games, right? So usually when you win a bunch of close games and then you lose and you have this underachieving finish, usually it's a close loss. Usually it's a 1-possession loss.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what happened. Laurelville won by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like they were just the better team. Mm-hmm. And that is surprising because people weren't doing that to ERAS. So is there some kind of elevation happening with Laurelville? Perhaps. I mean, I don't know. That being said, ultimately, you probably would still prefer to play Laurelville over ERAS. I mean, it's so the draw I think is fairly good for Gina. I think I agree with the sentiment that it sets up fairly well for them. But maybe it'll be more interesting than we would think on paper. That maybe Laurelville is a better team than than either they or Erath had kind of shown throughout the season. And maybe they do make it more interesting. But ultimately, I think Gina will win.
All right, Daryl, we're all saying Gina. Are you going to make a case for Louisville? Maybe the Cinderella in this bracket. You're going to make a case for them, or we're going to go with Gina here.
I'm gonna roll with Gina as well, but I mean, Louisville they had a great performance last week. I do think that the bye week is maybe what hurt Eraf because I mean 7 points is I don't think any of us saw that coming. A 28-7 loss against the 15 seed. So I mean, I think it was a tough week for them, but shout out to Louisville, they showed up.
Yep.
But I mean, Gina has been rolling since round one. They didn't have a bye. They put up back-to-back 50-point performances, and I think they're going to use that momentum to roll it over. And I think that, yeah, Gina's going to pull this one out.
All right. So once again, these are our playoff matchups in the quarterfinals. Gina will take on Louisville, Oak Grove, Sterlington, Kinder, Union Parish, and St. James and Pine. So this is our Division III non-select quarterfinal preview. I'm your host, Jason Jern. For myself, we have also Alex Allison, Gerald Felker, and Grant Sachere. We'll see you all next time with another edition of our playoff bracket breakdowns here on Ballin in the Booth.